Happy New Year, everyone. I know I haven't been making videos lately. Work's been busy and saps most of the creative energy out of me. And the little creativity I have left is usually put either into music or, well, I preserve it for relaxation purposes. Nonetheless, this video is about something I've been wanting to talk about for at least a couple of years. And that is the sounds of Silent Hill. I am not sure if this will become a new series, but if it does, consider this the starting point. In this series, I want to talk about Silent Hill sounds that stuck out to me. In case you don't know, I'm very much a sound guy. I mean, I'm not an audiophile, and I can't really tell the difference between lossless and MP3 most of the time, but I think sound is like 70% of the experience of a horror game, which is why I focus so much on it on my own horror game. In my opinion, a stock sound effect can instantly ruin the carefully built atmosphere of an indie horror game. Doesn't matter, sounds creepy, let's throw it in there. Sound is essential in horror, and even more so in an interactive medium like gaming. And I believe a lot of indie horror game devs kinda underrate the value of sound sometimes. I recently played an indie horror game called Broken Through that did an amazing job using sound. The imagination you can trigger with sound is way better than any 3D model an indie dev could ever make. Just to give one example from Broken Through, there is this point in the game where you get chased by something through some vents. And you can hear it, just following you. And when you look back, you can never quite make out what it is that is haunting you. But Silent Hill has some very carefully crafted sounds that build on the atmosphere, and honestly make me feel things that very few games do. Akira Yamaoka understands the value of sound. In this first video, I want to talk about one particular sound track that always gets under my skin and try to make sense of the reason why. I'm talking about the butterfly or moth room in Silent Hill 2. It sounds like some sort of machinery doing something, and it just creeps the hell out of me. And there really is no immediately obvious reason to why that is. There's nothing particularly scary immediately visible in the room, but also no source of the sound. The sound actually first starts when you enter the hotel room, not even the butterfly room itself. It immediately makes you feel not alone, which isn't a weird expectation to have in this hotel, as not too much earlier you got jump scared by a mannequin after picking up the flashlight from your dead wife's clothes. And once you explore the room further, you notice that there really isn't anything to be afraid of in this room. You are, in fact, all alone. In this room, James needs to put his hand into a random hole oozing green goop to get a key, and after that, you never return to this room. But man, something about this cold, methodically repeating sound and the absence of any visible source is uncomfortable to me. To understand why, I needed to take a step back, like a long step back. I've been thinking about this specific sound for at least a decade. And look at another game that has a sound like this, and I found it in one of the most unlikely places. A game for children, I'm assuming, called My Singing Monsters. Okay, give me like 1 minute, I swear I can explain. I stumbled upon this game a short while ago, and I haven't played this game for any significant amount of time, but from what I can tell, it's just one of those mobile games that wants you to spend money on it to skip waiting. You know, one of those games your mom would play on the couch. What makes this game slightly interesting is the different sounds the monsters make. In particular, there's one race of monsters called Wubbox, and their epic variant eerily remind me of that butterfly room sound from Silent Hill. They are essentially machine-like monsters that make this low, droning sound. Look, I can't be the only one that feels like this sounds threatening, right? It's like a noise a cold, giant machine makes that could easily crush you and it wouldn't even notice. Like one of those gigantic building machines. The sound is so low, it just sounds, like I said, cold, methodical, calculating, and threatening. Funnily enough, the Wubbox don't sound like that anymore in the full orchestra. It's the magic of harmonies, I guess. However, while I listen to these weird monsters by themselves make these noises, I am reminded yet again of that butterfly room in Silent Hill. I think part of the reason I find this particular sound so scary is that machines, in and of themselves, aren't evil. They are built to do evil things, and if they do hurt you, it's not out of malice, but it's either an accident or somebody has built it for the specific purpose to do just that. There are just no limits. A machine has no morals. It is able to do terrible things without even batting an eye. Pair this feeling from the Wubbox up with the already creepy and scary atmosphere from Silent Hill, and give it a more constant noise. Very little variety. Not a varying one like the Wubbox do, and it starts feeling like somebody made a machine that is built to do something terrible. Remember, in this part of the game, there is no power. Nothing but a private generator could power this machine. And why would somebody put a machine at an abandoned hotel like this? What value could there possibly be? And if it isn't a machine, then what on God's green earth is it? And like I've mentioned a number of times, there's also no obvious source of the sound anywhere to be found. Aside from that one strange hole in the wall that the game wants you to put your entire arm inside. So chances are that whatever is making that sound is right beyond that hole, waiting for something or someone, while slowly doing whatever it is that it has done all this time in the complete darkness and emptiness of the butterfly room. So, in conclusion, I think what scares me about the sound is not exactly the sound itself, but more so my expectation of what makes that sound or what it implies, paired with the genius atmosphere building in Silent Hill 2. And I feel like if I do make any more of these videos, then that's probably gonna be a theme. A lot of the sounds in Silent Hill are suggestive, and I feel like that's an amazing way to build atmosphere, and something that makes Silent Hill unique, pushing it beyond the slew of horror games that have, and still do come out. So if you don't want to be disillusioned and the effect somewhat diminished by these things, I'd suggest you turn off the video right now, because it kinda did that to me. But if you are more interested into the technical side and how this sound particularly was achieved, feel free to stay with me for another minute or so. Like I said, I was somewhat disillusioned by the sound a while back. First off, let's start with the fact that this particular sound is just a piece of music called Silent Heaven. There is no source of the sound because all it is ambient music. And if you want to get even more technical and know exactly where the sound effect is from, let's talk about it some more. So first of all, let's get on the same page. Digital music is created in a piece of software called a DAW, a digital audio workstation. And music within those is created with things called VST plugins, Virtual Studio Technology, which are essentially virtual instruments or effects like this piano, for example. It's like a piece of software within a piece of software. Imagine a workbench. This is your DAW. And now imagine a hammer you use to nail in something. Those are VST plugins. There is one particularly well-known VST called Omnisphere that Akira Yamaoka used extensively during the creation of the Silent Hill games. I'd highly suggest watching this video made by Corey Pelizari, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, who showcases a lot of these sounds from Omnisphere used in Silent Hill. But there is one particular sound effect called SHUDD. Now, what does that sound remind you of? Akira Yamaoka is an ambiental mastermind, and also does a lot of analog music too. I feel deeply inspired by him. Using samples and VSTs is completely normal for making digital music. Everyone does it. It's the artist's work, putting it all together into a meaningful piece of music or a soundscape at the right points to make them work as well as they do. But to be honest, I would be lying if I said that finding out these things didn't somewhat disillusion me, at least a little bit back in the day. However, I personally try to make music and soundscapes myself, so learning about these things, how the masters of the industry do them, it does a lot to broaden my horizons, and also make me appreciate what Akira Yamaoka did that much more.